So, welcome back from your holiday, and we're starting from where we stopped. So, this night we're starting with components of business analysis. So business analysis have so many components. So you will have a sequential order of activities, things you need to do as a business analyst when you're approaching a project. So there is a list of things you need to do. And those lists of things you need to do it one after the other in order to get good results. So that is, this component involves a lot of stages you need to pass through to understanding, analyzing, and improving business processes. And the sequential order will help you to follow things, discipline, and help you to get good results. That's why, more especially in my own mentoring, this is the way I've been approaching projects. And I always urge everybody, more especially my mentees, to apply this method for you to achieve good results while managing a project as a business analyst. So the first thing you need to do is to understand the business environment. So looking at this component, we are going to look at a brief overview of each component, techniques within the component, and a few examples. This is still, like I said, is still a high level. After this, we are going to jump into the details where we have to look at these techniques, how to do it, how to perform it. That's when I'll start teaching you people how to perform these techniques and the tools and technologies involved in performing these techniques within the component. So let's look at the first one, understanding the business environment. When you are starting a project, there is a business environment within every organization or every project you are planning to understand. For instance, you are looking at CRM projects. You have been invited to help an organization to implement a CRM project or CRM improvement. This is an environment. So you need to look at the environment, understand the business environment surrounding this project. A comprehensive understanding of industrial market, regulatory environment, and overall business context. For you to achieve that, understanding the business environment very well, number one is to apply these techniques. Number one, market research. You need to do market research. If it's CRM, you need to research about the market to understand the CRM market very well. If you go to Gartner provide a good report on how to, not only Gartner, so many consultancy firms provide this kind of comprehensive information and data about environment of every technology. So you need to do a market analysis and research. Another one is PESTLE analysis. This PESTLE analysis, PESTLE means political, economical, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental. All these are factors affecting that industry or affecting that particular technology. You need to apply PESTLE to see how they affect your project or affect the market you are planning. For instance, applying PESTLE analysis for regulatory environment and market research for customer preference. So that is how you can apply PESTLE in CRM. PESTLE will help you to understand the customer preference, looking at the political environment. What are the political factors affecting marketing, sales and marketing? Because these are the area where the CRM falls into. The market preference, customer preference. How can the political environment affect customer preference? How economic environment affect customer preference? How sociological environment affect customer preferences? How technological environment or technological factors affect the kind of CRM within the customer preference? How legal and the environmental preference? For instance, we are talking about legal and regulation. You are dealing with people's data, so you need to understand how they are regulated. So these days, more especially in UK, we have what we call Data Protection Act, GDPR. These are some of the factors affecting how you use customers' data and other things. If we are looking at economic environment, since we, after COVID-19, everybody can see that the economic, there has been high steady of inflation. This is economic environment. How is it affecting customer preference? So many customers, their preferences or their tastes have changed because of high increase in price of things, sociological, technological, and things like that. How does technology affect customer preference? These days, everybody try to shop online. Most people shop online now in UK. So if you are a business and your product cannot be sell online, then you know you're going to have a problem. So these are how technology, if you don't use social media these days to promote your product in terms of marketing and selling, marketing promo, marketing campaign, if you don't apply all this, it's going to affect the outcome of anything you are doing in terms of marketing. So these are customer preferences. So this is how you can use PESTLE analysis to understand the market environment. These are things you need to do as a business analyst before you are starting a project. So when you carry out this analysis, PESTLE analysis, it will help you to understand the environment very well. So this can be applied in so many other areas, not only in CRM. It can be applied in other areas like ITSM, e-commerce, a lot of, so it's not only in CRM that it can be applied. It can be applied in ERP as well. So in a nutshell, this is what understanding the market environment is. So this is the number one thing you need to do. So that is number one component of business analysis. Then we'll have stakeholder analysis. When you understand the market environment very well, the next thing you need to do is to understand the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are everybody that have interest or influence in any particular project. So you need to understand all these people that have interest and influence and power over the project you are trying to execute. Identify and analyze stakeholders, understand their interests, expectation, and influence. If you do not understand their stakeholders, this is the beginning of failure in both project management and business analysis. Because the stakeholders hold the 4 A's of your project. You must understand them by identifying them one by one through what we call stakeholder analysis. So for you to do that, we apply a technique called stakeholder interview, survey, workshop, power/influence metrics. These stated techniques will help you to carry out a thorough stakeholder analysis. You need to interview to understand stakeholders, carry out survey, do workshop. To understand stakeholders' need, you need to have a workshop with the stakeholders to understand their need, to understand their expectation, to understand their interest. At times, you need to issue a survey to various stakeholders, a way of data collection. With that, you understand what they need. You need to carry out one-on-one interview with all these stakeholders. But for you to do that, you must identify them first. We have another method or technique called stakeholder power influence matrix or power influence grid. It will help you to grade stakeholders based on their power, based on their influence. We have high power stakeholder, we have high interest stakeholder, we have low power stakeholder, we have low interest stakeholders. These are methods we are going to use to understand and analyze our stakeholder. In CRM, example is interviewing stakeholders within the sales, marketing, and support team or support department. In CRM, most of the stakeholders come from the sales and marketing, because when we are talking about CRM, we're going to see how we are going to use CRM to manage sales, lead management, contact management, marketing, promotion, and a lot. So their stakeholders are mainly within this department. So you need to understand them, have meeting with them, have workshop with them to understand their interests, their expectation, and the influence they have on their project. So these things are things we are going to dive into fully. We are going to break them down. I'm going to teach you how to analyze all this, and I will expect you to do it as well. So at this point, we are not going to be showing how to do it. It's just for us to run through it, and then we jump into it in subsequent sessions. Let me check. I think someone is trying to join. Okay, no one. All right. So after understanding stakeholders, the next thing we need to do is to understand the business objective. We need to clearly define the project goals and objectives, how the goals align with the overall strategic objectives of the organization. So we need to understand the objective of the project we are planning to execute. And for us to do that, we need to apply some techniques. Some of the techniques here is SMART criteria. SMART criteria means that the objective must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. It must be relevant, and it must be time bound. Every objective as a business analyst, you must apply this SMART technique, the SMART criteria. Another way to gather through business objective is through goal workshop, brainstorming. These are various, there are so many others, but these are the key ones you can use. When you talk about specific, every objective or every requirement must be very specific. It must be measurable. You must have a way to measure the output, and it must be achievable. You see, at times you see stakeholders will start telling you something that is not achievable. Every objective must be achievable. It must be relevant, and it must be time bound. A project from the beginning, you must know the end of that project. This our project. When we are starting, I clearly stated that this is going to be a 4 months program or a 4 months project. So you already know that this is going to last for 4 months. It can last beyond 4 months, but if you are lasting beyond 4 months, I will tell you that, look, because of this reason, we need to extend the time. So we have what we call goal workshop. We can have a workshop with the stakeholders to clearly define the goal of the project. We can equally have brainstorming session where everybody will come up how best to solve this project, and that from there we can generate the objectives. In CRM, using SMART criteria can lead us to increase qualified lead in the CRM by 15%. So looking at it here, you can see that it's specific. They said this before we say 15%, it means that maybe at the moment what we have is still 2%. So we are looking at achieving 50%. So this is a clear picture of what they want. Or after the enhancement, we are looking at achieving a 15% increase of our lead from the marketing or from the sales. So you can see that the goal here is specific. The objective here is specific. They said they want an increase of lead by 15% after enhancing the CRM. So you know there is a clear goal, 15%. That is the target. Then the next one is SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis means we need to evaluate the strengths, the weakness, opportunities, and threats within this particular project. So SWOT analysis can be applied in so many areas. It's not only in a simple project, even in every aspect of our business, we apply SWOT analysis to see the weaknesses. That will help us to see how we can improve on our weaknesses, to see our strengths, and then to take advantage of our strengths and look for opportunities and explore all these opportunities and look for threats and develop a comprehensive risk plan to cater for all the threats that we are going to anticipate. So in CRM, SWOT workshop analyze the data analytics, communication channels, personalized marketing, and competitors. So these are how we can use SWOT analysis in this area. In most cases, in project management or IT project, I don't apply SWOT analysis a lot. But it's good for you to understand SWOT analysis very well as well. Then another component here is requirement gathering. We can call it requirement elicitation or data collection. So this process is to elicit. Elicit means to capture or gather requirement, or and then document the requirement, analyze the functional and non-functional requirements. So that is requirement gathering. Can call it data collection, can call it a requirement elicitation. So that is it. Is a very key area in business analysis that you must apply it. For instance, in SWOT analysis, you might navigate, you find out that it's not relevant in your organization or in your project. Personal analysis, you might find out that personal is not so compulsory or so required in your projects. But requirement gathering, you cannot, it must be applied as long as business analysis are concerned. It's something you do on daily basis as a business analyst. Everything you do is about data collection. You continue to gather, capture data, you continue to analyze data, you continue to document data. That's what you are going to be doing all the days of your life as a business analyst. As long as you continue to be a business analyst, you must be capturing data. You must be gathering requirements. It's something you cannot run away from. That is a core duty of a business analyst, and you must know how to do it. You can't dodge it. You must come to love it. You must come to understand how to perform a good requirement gathering, because this is what you are going to be doing every day. So techniques to do that is through interview, through survey, through workshop, through observation. Interview is one of having a one-on-one discussion with a stakeholder or a customer, trying to understand what they want, the scope, their pain. If you are dealing with customers, you need to understand their pain points. You need to understand the customer journey. What are the processes the customer pass through? If you are dealing with maybe an employee within the organization where you are trying to improve on CRM, you need to look for the process owners, people that perform the processes. You need to understand the way they do their work. You need to have one-on-one with them, that is interview. If you don't want to have an interview, if you want to collect data from a large number of people, for instance, in an organization, I just started analyzing the data I've been collecting. I need to collect the data from more than 500 employees. So with that, you see that it's very difficult for me to have interview with up to 500 people. It's very difficult. I can't do that. And even to have workshop with them is going to be very noisy. To have workshop, only way I can do that is to break the group, break them down into stages or into target group and start having work. But for me to just start having a workshop or interview with 500 people is very difficult. But to have their data collected, I can issue a survey. Within 1 week, I can capture the data from them and analyze the data and know their opinion. So that is the way to use a survey. You can use survey through questionnaire, develop questionnaire, issue it out. All these things are things we are going to develop in full, and things we are going to do. I will teach you how to do it, and you do it. Then to have workshop, you need to know how to run a workshop. It is very important you know how to run a workshop. That is why it's very important that you join my classes or my session, because what I'm doing is a way of kind of workshop. I can say that I'm having workshop with you. You know, I'm presenting. This is the way you are going to be having workshop. So it's very important for you to have a workshop. There is a workshop plan. You need to create a plan on how to conduct a workshop. During the interview session, the hiring manager must understand how you approach workshop or interview, because they know that is something you will always do. They will equally want to know how you manage your stakeholders, how you handle stakeholders, difficult stakeholders. All these things are very important, because you cannot miss some of all these points during the interview session. Another way of requirement gathering is observation. We call it site visitation. You can visit a site and observe the way they do things. When I mean site, I don't mean construction site. You can go to, in your organization, you can decide to visit the sales department. Is a site. So in the sales department, you can just go there and observe the way they do their work, how they be using their CRM. Maybe they are using a legacy CRM system, and you want to migrate from legacy to on the cloud CRM, or on premises to on cloud. So you need to understand how they are using their old system, the legacy system, for you to understand the problem and challenges they are having. So if you need to do that, just interview might not be enough, workshop might not be enough. So another best way to do it is, or a better way to do it is, to go and observe what they are doing. So we call it observation, or some call it site visitation. So in a CRM environment, you can interview for lead management, automated communication, and system integration. You can interview them on how they manage their lead, and find a way to automate communication, understand their communication processes, and find out the relevant system that need to be integrated for effective CRM functioning. Such as in CRM, these days, you know that most of the areas that we capture lead is through social medias like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You can have a workshop or interview with this sales team to understand the relevant social media handlers they are using, for you to know where to carry out integration process. So these are ways we can apply the requirement gathering within CRM. Then another component here is business process modeling. Business process modeling is a way of creating visual representation to identify the areas of improvement. After capturing your data during requirement gathering, part of the documentation is process flow documentation. You need to create a process flow, or a process map. You need to be, some of them we need to be in a use case diagram, some of them be in a flow chart, some of them be in a swim lane. This is another thing you need to understand and master as a business analyst. You must know how to create a good process flow chart. You must know how to use a swim lane. And you must know how to use a use case diagram to analyze information. So if you're applying it in CRM, we have a process flow chart for customer journey. We have a process flow for lead management and process flow for contact management. So these are ways we can apply it in CRM. I'm just using CRM as an example for you to understand that where it can be applied. But process flow is very, very important that we need to understand. It's something that you keep doing every day. Even today, I created one process flow chart. In a week, I'll create up to 3 process flow charts. And that has been my life as a business analyst. So when you capture requirement, you need to document requirement. Part of documentation is process flow modeling. In business analysis, our language is called modeling language. We call it unified modeling language. In IT, we have so many languages in IT. For instance, developers, their language is programming language. We call them programming language. Programming language like JavaScript, PHP, Python. These are programming language, and they are languages of the developers. That is their own language. Then, if you come to business analysis, we have our own language. Our own language is modeling language, unified modeling language, UML. So this is what we do every day. That is the way we communicate information. After our analysis or during our analysis, we use it to communicate information through visual representation. For example, let's see what flowchart looks like. Let me show you what flowchart looks like. So this is what a flowchart looks like. This is a flowchart. You see this? This is an example of a flowchart. This is a flowchart. That's how a flowchart looks like. So you need to model your information this way. For instance, you can see this flowchart is hiring process flowchart. It's for hiring. If you look at it, it says identify staffing need, write up job description. We are not going to go through this now because it's not time for this, but I just want to quickly show you how a process flow or a flow chart looks like. So you must know how to do this because these are something you need to do every day as a business analyst. That's how you communicate your information. This is the language of the business analyst. So you must know how to speak this language very well. Every data you have, you must represent it in this way. That is how you communicate. Okay. Then another component is requirement analysis. Requirement analysis. One, you need to capture requirement through data gathering. After capturing data through requirement gathering, you need to document the data that you've just collected through process flow that I've just shown you now. And after the documentation, you need to carry out analysis on the data collected. So you need to analyze and refine requirements for clarity, completeness, and alignment. During the analysis, we apply so many techniques during the analysis. One of the techniques is what we call gap analysis. To carry out a gap analysis, you need to understand the current process and you need to understand the future process. And to carry out analysis between the current process and future process. Current process is where they are, that they are having problem. And future process is where you want them to be after solving their problem. That's what we call, you look at these two extreme situations. We call it as is and to be. As is the current process and to be is the future process. So you need to carry out analysis, kind of a comparative analysis of the current and the future, and to find out the gap between them. That is the opportunity, or that is the solution you are bringing. You need to find a way to bridge the gap. By the time you bridge the gap between the current and the future, you have solved their problem. So that's what we mean by gap analysis. You're always looking for gap. That's what you do every day. You might use other analysis as a business analyst, but gap analysis is what you have to use on daily basis because you need to identify gaps and finding solution. Any gap you identify is a big opportunity. So if, for instance, in an environment, it's taking them 5 hours to complete a process, and customers are complaining that it's too much, 5 hours is too much, and they are looking at reducing the time it takes to complete the process from 5 hours to 1 hour. So you need to carry out a gap analysis to find out how to remove 4 hours. By the time you remove 4 hours within that process, that is a big savings you've done. You save them 4 hours, from 5 hours to 1 hour. That is a big, and that is, all this hour is money. So you are saving them hours and you are saving them resources. When you translate it to money and revenue, that's a lot of money you've saved the organization. So that's why you need to carry out gap analysis in almost everything. Then we have what we call root cause analysis. If you have a problem in an organization they need to solve, at times some problem, you don't just jump into the problem. You need to carry out a root cause analysis to find out the root cause of the problem. So many times we use what we call fishbone diagram to carry out this root cause analysis. Let's see if I can find a fishbone diagram. Fishbone diagram. So this is what we call fish. You can look at it here. It looks like shape of a fish. This is what we call fishbone diagram. I'll call it cause and effect. So look at this fishbone diagram. This is the process. This is the problem here. This is the cause. These are the causes. So we use this kind of fishbone diagram to find out what we call the, we apply this in a root cause analysis. This is what we do. That is it. How to carry out a root cause analysis. The easiest way to carry out a root cause analysis is to apply this kind of analysis called fishbone diagram. Okay, let me see if we can see a gap analysis. So this is a gap analysis. So this is the current state, this is the desired state, and this is the gap in between. So between the current and desired state, you find out the gap. That is a gap analysis. So this is another one, software gap analysis. This is the current status, this is the target status, and this is the gap. So I just want to show you in a quick way for you to see how it looks like. We are going to do this in a very big detail for you to understand how it works. So don't worry, because these are things you need to do. You need to understand how to do it, because during your project, this is the stages you are going to pass through when we start our live project. We are going to pass through all these stages, and we are going to be applying all these techniques in all the stages, throughout all these stages when we are doing our live project. But this is just a high-level overview. That's what we are doing. So, if we apply this gap analysis in CRM, we can do gap analysis for CRM capabilities or root cause analysis for real-time data. So that's area we can apply it in CRM. Then we move on to solution evaluation. Solution evaluation is that when you capture requirement during requirement gathering, the second thing is to document the requirement, where you use process flow map. After documenting the requirement, the next step is to carry out analysis. Maybe you apply gap analysis, and after gap analysis, you find out what you need to do, the gap, and then when you find out the gap, you need to look for solution to fill in the gap or address the need. And that is where the solution comes in. If you go to the market, there are so many solutions that you can apply to a particular problem, and that's where the confusion comes. How do you select the solution? There are so many solutions. Like in CRM now, we're in CRM. When we talk about CRM, we have millions of CRM solutions in the market. How do you get the proper CRM to address the need your organization is having? You need to take into cognizance some factors. The time frame they give you in order to address the problem, that is the timeline for the project. The cost, how much is your organization ready to spend in CRM? These are some of the things you need to analyze. For instance, you can say, okay, we want a CRM solution. Let's get SAP CRM. Everybody knows that SAP, they have capable solutions, but they are very costly and will have low experts. Only few people knows how to configure SAP solution, and those who knows how to configure SAP solution, they can charge high money. It can become so so capital intensive to implement SAP solution. Another CRM, good CRM is Salesforce. Salesforce is a good vendor. Their CRM is very good. We have Dynamics 365 CRM from Microsoft. We have so many CRM. We have Zoho CRM. We have HubSpot. So many of them. And this is where this particular component comes in, solution evaluation. So you need to evaluate all the solutions and validate them. For you to carry out this solution evaluation means to assess the proposed solution against the business requirement and ensure value. For you to do that, you can use any of these techniques like cost-benefit analysis, feasibility studies, prototype testing. Prototype means that early sample, model, or release of the product build to test the concept or the process. So most of the time, I use cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis will help you to weigh the cost and the benefit. How much does it going to cost to develop a particular solution? And what is the benefit you are going to drive from a particular from that particular solution? You compare like 4 solutions, use cost-benefit analysis on 4 solutions, and see which one gives more benefit and which one is more cost-effective, and then you apply it. That is what we call cost-benefit analysis, and that's what we use in this CRM. In this solution evaluation. Let me see if I can see a template for cost-benefit analysis. So, looking at this, you see cost-benefit analysis. So, this is the total, this is the cost, and this is the total cost, total benefit. So for you to get the value, you need to subtract the total benefit from the cost, and for you to get the net benefit. So to get the net benefit, you need to, the total cost is subtracted, you remove the total benefit from the total cost, and then you see how much is your gain. What are you gaining? Another of this is it, cost benefit analysis. So you see here, you see hardware and system training. These are all costs and these are all benefits. When you identify all the costs, you identify all the benefits, then you subtract the benefit from the cost, and then you get the net benefit. If the net benefit is minus, then it means that it's not viable. If the net benefit is positive, then you know that it's viable and you carry on. So these are how to carry on cost-benefit analysis. So let's not waste much time on this template because, well, these are something we are going to spend our time developing our own. Then when you have carried out a cost-benefit analysis by this solution evaluation, then you need to draft what we call business case. It's another stage, business case. You need to develop a case justifying the investment with expected benefit, cost, and risk. So you need to draft, you see, mainly what you are going to be using is cost benefit. Although at this stage, you need to put everything together, both the requirements, the analysis you carried out to come to this conclusion. You must compile everything and put it together in one document to justify to the stakeholder or the business leaders that this investment is viable. We should carry out this investment. And you must recommend up to 3 solutions you've analyzed for them to choose one. That's what we call business case. Once your business case has been approved, then you jump into what we called project charter. Project charter is a way of approving the project. You create a formal documentation authorizing the project, defining scope and objectives. Project charter is very important document in project management and business analysis, more especially in project management. If you are a project manager, because very soon you find out that you are already a project manager or a senior business analyst, you are starting, but by the time you take off, you will know, before you know it, you're already a big project manager, and you see yourself handling big projects. You see yourself handling projects for government projects. And when you're handling government projects, any little mistake, you can find yourself in prison. If you make a mistake in a private company, they can sack you. You can lose your job. But when you are working with government organization, if you make a mistake, they will not just sack you, you go to prison. And that's why it's very important. For instance, during this COVID-19, a lot of money has been allocated during the COVID for either drug, so many things during the COVID-19, and so many of them got misappropriated. So many of those project managers are already in prison. You know, there's a time we handled a Crossrail project in London Underground. Crossrail project, this is a high-speed project, well, a network rail that connects UK to different parts of UK. This project involves a lot of money. I think 2 of the project managers, something happened, they made just a few mistakes, and before you know it, 2 of them spent 3 years in prison because of that project. You know, so the point I'm making here is that before you start spending any money in a project, more especially in a government project, make sure you issue out a project charter. Make sure there is a project charter. If you're a business analyst, it might not be too difficult for you because you are just but if you are a project manager, you are the project leader. You must get a project charter. Project charter authorizes you to spend in that project, and is a very important document. So the technique here is project initiation meeting, stakeholder input, and formal documentation. This formal documentation is a document where the stakeholders will sign, authorizing you to start the project. Once the project charter is signed, then it means that the project is officially approved and started, and the project manager can start spending resources on that project. So you can create a project charter for CRM implementation. It's just a very simple document, but it covers the project. It defines the project scopes, objective, timeline, stakeholders. Everything about the project is covered within the project charter. Let's look if we can see a copy of project charter online. Okay. Look at this project charter. It's a very small document, but it's very, very powerful. This is how it looks, but you can see it carries out everything here. Another project charter here document is this project charter. This is how it looks. You see here, it covers the project scope, the project need, deliverables, assumptions and dependencies, risk and issues, financials, milestones, project team, approval stroke review committee. And from here, you see project manager and all the people that need to, all these people, all this approval committee, like the project sponsor, all of them, finance manager, all these people need to sign authorizing that this project can start. Once they sign, the project can officially kickstart. It's a one-page document, although you can see, I've seen project charter that has more than one page, but some main cases it says a one-page document. So this is how a project charter looks like. So we're going to develop it and we move on. Then after project charter, you have been given authority to start the project. Then you come to solution design. When the projects have been officially started, you start designing the solution. What is solution design? You need to create detailed design, technical specification, and architecture of the solution. Way of doing that, like the techniques, are you need to write user stories, you need to write acceptance criteria, you need to create use case diagram, wireframe, test cases. These are various things you need to do. Mainly people doing this is what we call technical business analyst or solution architect or or solution architect, yes, or technical business analyst. Some call it software engineer. These are the people that does that. You are the business analyst, you are still do it, but you, under this nature, you are no longer a conventional business analyst. A conventional business analyst, we call them business analysts. And then the people that does this, we call them technical business analysts. So the role of a technical business analyst starts from solution design, where you start writing user stories, acceptance criteria, use cases, diagram, solution, wireframe, test cases. So you design the solution at this point. So these are various techniques. So in future, we're going to deal with user story. You need to understand user stories very well. It's something you cannot run away from. And acceptance criteria and use cases, wireframe, all these things, you must learn how to do it very well. We are going to do it. So in CRM, you need to design a CRM solution with data structure and the user interface. And for you to design this, you need to create a user story that will help the developers to design this or configure this. So let's look at a user story example, how it looks like. I will just do it quickly. User stories. So this is how a user story look like. This is a user story. How, if you are designing a solution, this is how you'll be writing it. This is the language the developers understand. They don't understand ordinary language. For instance, as a User, you describe the user, I want to do this functionality so that I can get this benefit. And once you create a user story, you create acceptance criteria. Given that how things begins, when action is taken, then outcome of this action will be this. So this is how a user story, the structure of a user story. This is another template of how user stories is supposed to be. Here, as a project team member, I want to know all my tasks in advance so that I can prepare and plan my time properly. That's another way to write a user story. So that is how you, a business analyst, that is how you are going to be designing the solution. After writing series of user story, it becomes what we call product backlog. Product backlog is a bunch of user story in one document. So you compile them and give it to the developers, and they start designing the solution or configuring the solution. So that is a solution evaluation. Then after solution evaluation, by this time you must have created all the user story acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is a benchmark. You know, the acceptance, if it doesn't meet this benchmark, you are not taking it. It must reach this standard, is the standard a solution must reach before you, a business analyst, can accept that solution. So for you to test the user story against the acceptance criteria, you must have test cases. This is what you are going to perform in all these tests. So after creating all the user stories, acceptance criteria, wireframe is like a skeleton for you to draw the skeleton of the solution you are trying to create. It's kind of a mock-up or a skeleton of how the solution is going to be. And use case diagram is how users are going to use. You must state how users are going to use that particular solution. Now, what we call use case diagram. Let's look at use case diagram quickly before we jump into another component. Use case diagram. So this is how a use case diagram looks like. All these things you are seeing here are use case diagram. Let's look at this particular use case diagram. This is an online shopping system use case diagram. This is a customer. This is all these things, all these hanging man, we call them actors. All these various actors, how all these actors, this container you see here is a online shopping system like Amazon. How does all these actors or users, how do they perform actions on this system or this solution you are creating? Maybe you have been hired as a business analyst by one company, or maybe Asda or Primark, for you to create an online shopping for them. You need to create a use case diagram like this to create how the customer will interact with the system and how the admin will interact, how the identity provider will interact with the system, how the credit payment will interact with the system, how the payment integrations, payment gateways like PayPal, how all this can be interacting with this system, what role they play. So you can see there are so many use case diagram. This is online ordering system as well. So all these are use case diagram. So that is how we design a solution. We must create all these things so that both the stakeholders and the developers will have a clear understanding of what you are designing by writing it as a user story and writing it in a visual diagram like this. This is still part of the UML, Unified Modeling Language. Our language is to use diagram to speak. We communicate, we tell stories using diagram. That's why the other one, they call it user stories. It's story, user. You tell story about the user. And this one is use case diagram. That story you are telling, you need to show it in a diagram like this as well. It's not enough for you to tell the story. You only need to show it in a diagram. So let's crack on. So that is how you are going to use user stories, acceptance criteria, use cases, wireframe. Let's look at wireframe as well, so you understand what wireframe means. Wireframe. So this is a wireframe. So it's like a skeleton of application. This is a wireframe. This is another wireframe. This is a wireframe. This is, you see it, this is the mobile version. This is the desktop version of a website or a web application. All this you can see, they are all wireframes. At times, if there is a project you implement, like if you are creating a mobile application, you need to create all the wireframe, or if you are creating a website, you need to create the wireframe. These are sketches. They are kind of sketch and the skeleton of the application. They are still part of the UML language. It's part of the unified. See, it's still a diagram, using diagram to tell story. So somebody who is looking at this will know that this is a mobile application. This is a mobile app. You can see how the mobile app is going to be when the mobile app is fully developed. So design all these and share them with the stakeholders and the developers before the actual thing starts. With this, they can say, okay, I don't want this. I want 3 boxes or 4 boxes, or I just want 1 boxes. With this, you can make amendment before the actual development starts. So that's the importance of wireframe, so that they can look at it, make correction, make input before the reproduction starts. So having captured a lot about solution design, we go to solution implementation. By solution implementation, here we have implementation planning. So at this point, planning is not, if you are working alone as a low ranger, maybe you are the business analyst as a hybrid and you are still working as a business analyst and a project manager in one body, then you need to equally plan the project very well. But if you are working with a project manager, the project manager needs to develop a plan for implementing the solution, considering the resources and timeline. The project manager must look at the resources at hand and look at the timeline, that is the time duration. If it's 6 months, the project manager have to plan this project in such a way that it cannot go beyond 6 months. And we have 10,000 pounds for this project. The project manager needs to allocate these resources and make sure that these resources, this project can be implemented within these resources available. And to plan all these, the project manager needs to come up with a project plan, a Gantt chart, resource allocation, risk assessment. All these are what the project manager needs. You can see here, I put it is a project manager deliverable. It's not a business analyst deliverable. But as a business analyst, I want you to understand that you are still a project manager. Most projects, most business analysts end up being wonderful project managers. Why it's good to understand this? So many project managers do not understand business analysis very well. But a business analyst understands business analysis and understand project management. That's why so many companies these days, they are looking for more business analysts than conventional project manager. Because your project manager, they are just good at planning. But you as a business analyst, you can plan, you can capture requirements, you can analyze, you can do a lot of things. You are just like a midfielder. So this is what the implementation planning is. So this is the duty of a project manager. So when the solution is designed and planned, the next thing is solution delivery. To deliver the solution or implement the solution. In most cases these days, we don't use conventional project management in project delivery. Now we are using what we call agile project management or agile scrum for project delivery. So now is the time to implement the solution. Implement the solution using agile scrum methodologies with iterative development. The techniques here is what we call scrum. We apply scrum in this. Scrum is a framework in agile methodology. So we have what we call scrum ceremonies. These are series of activities and events we are going to deploy in order to implement this solution. There's what we call sprint planning. We have daily scrum. We have sprint review and sprint retrospective and backlog refinement. During the deployment stage, the first thing is that the team of Scrum team, the Scrum team is made up of the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the development team. The development team are the business analysts and the programmers. So the team will come together and plan a 2 weeks or 1 month sprint. We call it sprint. After the sprint planning, they start executing the project, the item they committed on the sprint, meaning that at this point they start building the solution. If it's a Dynamics 365 they are using, or if they are building e-commerce or mobile application, at this point they start building. Or if you want to say the developers start coding or they start configuration. That is what it means. They start planning. This is the planning. After planning, at the planning stage, they select the items they are going to work on. So they collect some user stories and start developing those user stories. Those user stories there as piece of softwares. When those pieces of softwares are developed, they become a product. Let me give you an example of user stories. As we are looking at this slide I'm using here, this is a product. This product is called Power. It's called a slide. It's called Google Slide. You see slide? This is a product. That is the name. And in this product, we have so many features. This file is a feature. Edit is a feature. View is a feature. Insert is a feature. Format is a feature. Slide, all these are features. Then inside features, we have other smaller and tiny softwares inside every feature. If I click on this file, you see there's a drop down. It opened up. As it opened up, you see new. This new is what we call user story. This open is what we call user story. This import is what we call user story. This make a copy. All these are user stories. When a collection of all these user stories put together is what will make up this feature. You see, edit all these user stories. So you have to start writing all these user stories. A lot of user stories need to be written in order to build a solution like this, a solution like this slide. So that is what they did before they built this solution. This solution now become a product. The product name is Google Slide. Just a kind of example for you to understand if I'm talking about user stories and this one, for you to see it, how it looks like. So by the time you start planning, you start consuming, building these user stories, every day the team will come together in what we call daily scrum to have a meeting to inspect and adapt and see what everybody is doing. Everybody needs to give account of what they are doing. You need to come and state what you did the previous day, what you are doing on that particular day. You need to state your challenges. And if you have challenges, the Scrum Master will take it up from there and help you to resolve your challenges. So, and this will happen for a period of time called a sprint duration. After that duration, it can be a period of 2 weeks or 1 month. At the end of that duration, the team will come and demonstrate what they've done to the stakeholder. We call it sprint review. For instance, if we are saying that we are going to build the file, maybe if you are trying to build a Google slide, for instance, now we are going to build our own, maybe we say, for instance, you know, our client is Local Handy, and the Local Handy have given us a contract to build a slide like this, maybe Local Handy slide instead of Google, Google slide. We need to build a slide like this. We need to develop user stories, and maybe the first week we say we are going to build a file. All these things are not built in 1 day or in 1 month. They keep on developing them and adding them till they become fully developed. And to be honest with you, up to date, they are still adding more features to this Google slide. So if we are saying we are going to develop this file, at the end of 1 month, under this sprint review, the team will come and say, okay, we are finished building the file and we need to demo it. So we come here and start showing how we've demoed this. We start clicking on all these icons you see here to see if it's going to function the way you want it. That is what we call demo. We demonstrate what we've done to see how it's functioning. So that is what we call sprint review. And after sprint review, another meeting in Scrum, what we call retrospective, is one when the team come together to look at what they've done in the past sprint and look at what their challenges, their problems, and then come together as a team to harmonize where they are having differences, where they have to need or where they need improvement. They will decide how they are going to improve as a team, and then they'll start another sprint. And they continue to, the sprint is a cycle. You continue to move on and on and on, and until you develop a product that can be deployed to the market for the users to start using. Even as the users are still using the product, the team will continue to work and add more features and go to the market. They'll be asking users, what is their challenges? What do you want to see more? For instance, in Facebook, you know that Facebook, we keep on seeing new features in Facebook. It's because the Scrum team has been busy. They keep on working and producing and adding more features. It's a continuous process. And for this process to work, we have what we call backlog refinement. So the team will continue to refine items. As they continue to refine items, making it ready for more development as they are going on. It's a continuous process. So that is it. That is how it's done. All these user stories, sprint backlog we stated about. So these are the things that the business analysts need to work with. You need to work with this group. You need to work with all these items, these techniques using these Scrum ceremonies to work with all these various ceremonies in order to deploy this solution. And that is how we are going to apply it in a CRM when we are going to implement our CRM solution. It's a continuous process. When this is done, you don't just leave it there. So when you, for instance, in our own, after we finish configuration, the delivery, solution delivery don't just end. We have what we call closure. Every project have a closure. For instance, if it's a 6-month project, after the whole delivery, we come to a conclusion. We've delivered what the stakeholders are looking for. There's what we call acceptance form. The business analysts need to process acceptance form. If you are working with a client, an external vendor or a client or a customer, you need to have acceptance form, which you need to give to the client to sign, showing the acceptance of the solution you and your team have developed and deployed. If you are working within an organization, the solution or the project sponsor need to equally sign acceptance form, showing that he's happy with what you and your team have done. And once the form is signed, it means that they have accepted the project, and that is the end of the project. When this is done, the project manager needs to write his own closure report. And then the team, where the business analyst will be part of, we equally have a post-implementation review to review and see what they've done, lesson learned, areas of improvement, and document all their activities, all their experience. And that will bring the project to a conclusion. And when that is done, it doesn't end there. Because if you are working on a project, you are trying to deploy the project, in so many cases, this is not the duty of a business analyst. But in a small organization, a business analyst does everything. Change management, you need to sensitize the organization or the members of the organization or the users of that solution, the benefit of the solution you are bringing to them. You need to have a communication plan, how you communicate with them. You need to have a training program. You need to train them, the users, about the new product, how to use it, because they might not know how to use it. So, for instance, a team that have been using Excel sheets to manage all their documentation and report, and you develop a Dynamics 365 that is very, very sophisticated, you need to train them for them to understand how to use it. Equally, you need to sensitize them, organize sensitization workshop to let them know the benefits of this project, because there's what we call resistance to change. So many of them will not want to see that change because they don't want to move away from their comfort zone. You need to gather feedback from them, and from the feedback, you continue to develop more strategy to respond to their need. So in CRM, we develop a communication plan for CRM system benefits and training session. This is how you do this here. And after then, one more thing is monitoring and continuous improvement. Every technology doesn't just end. If you develop a technology The only way you cannot continue to improve on that technology is when you retire the technology. We call it end of life. When it's no longer in use, it can be retired. So that is when the technologies stop receiving improvement. As long as the technology is still alive, the technology or the solution is like a human being. As you eat every day, you bath every day, you change clothes, that is how technology is. IT technology, even car, vehicle. You need to continue to monitor and maintain them and improve on them. So if you have developed a CRM system, over time you start looking for improvement. The ways of improvement can be to add integration, to integrate that CRM to other third-party applications for them to share information, data communication flow from one system to another system. This is enhancement. And as you are sharing information, the technology cannot be in silo. Silo means being in one place. It cannot share data with another technology. It's not a good technology. So these days, any technology that is very good must be able to be sharing information with many other third-party applications. It's just like a human being. If you are a human being and you are living alone, you don't have friends, you don't communicate with other people, you are not a good human. But as a human being, as a good human being, you must have friends, you communicate, exchange like Christmas, you exchange ideas, you exchange gifts. This is communication. In technologies and solution, they equally communicate. Like you see CRM technology communicating with Facebook, communicating with LinkedIn, communicating with Instagram, receiving data from Instagram, sending data from the CRM technology to because in CRM technology, the marketing team can prepare their marketing campaign, and their marketing campaign can be published from the CRM to various social media accounts at a various interval and at an automated interval. So these are various enhancements that need to be happening in technologies, and that can be done through monitoring and continuous improvement. So that is, in summary, that is the component of business analysis. All these sequence of activities are things we need to follow sequentially from the beginning to the end. And with that, we can have a good end-to-end or full project life cycle project deployment or solution deployment. So that is how we are going to do it as a business analyst. These are things we are going to do. So all these components and their various techniques are things we are going to explore in details. We are going to learn how to develop each of these techniques within every component. Once you learn how to develop all these techniques, how to use that techniques in a project, that is when you are going to call yourself a BA, a business analyst. As long as you cannot do that, that I go through this with you, I run through this high level with you, does not make you a business analyst. The only way you can do that is when you start applying it in a project, one after the other, and start getting results. Then you become a business analyst. So the next thing, we need to go into details. But before we go into details, we need more high levels. We need to work, we need to understand. We need to look at high levels of essential tools. Mind you, what we just did are techniques. techniques are different from tools. All these things are what we've just gone through are components. Within each component, we have techniques in each component. For you to perform these techniques, apply these techniques, there are tools we need to use to help you to perform these techniques. And that's where these essential tools used in business analysis. And after these essential tools, it's going to be on high level as well. We're going to look at essential soft skills in business analysis. So the next item we're going to do is to look at these essential tools. Once we understand the tools we are going to use, then we are going to then use these tools to perform these activities or to perform these techniques within this. Once this is done and we understand the essential soft skill, the next thing is for us to go for our live project where we can do this practical for you people to start managing the project, and I'll start monitoring you people as you monitor, as you execute the project. So that is the end of today's. This is supposed to be a 2 weeks a 2 weeks lesson, but I've decided to compress it and finish it in 1 day. So you can ask any question. If you have any question, this is time for you to bring any question you have based on what we've just done.
At the moment, I mean, I don't have any question. I was just wondering. Today we learned about so many different new topics, Scrum, Agile management. I'm just hoping when we are going to start working on a project for local handles, these are the tools we are going to actually practically imply in our project.
Yeah, like I said, this is a high level because I've just shown you various techniques, but you don't know how to perform those techniques. I just showed you how techniques, how. So the next thing is we have tools we are going to use. You don't know the tools we are going to, so you don't be in a hurry for us to start the main project.
Yeah,
We are just 1 week, almost 1 week we started. We don't, so I need to make sure that you understand what you are doing before we dive into the real project. That's the foundation we are building. We need to build a solid foundation for you to come out and say you are now a business analyst, you know.
yeah,
So that is it. Don't worry, we are going into the local handles very soon.
that's great. I'm just excited about it.
Yeah, no worries. These are where we are going to. By the time we're done with understanding the tools and I know so many of you must have done these basics of fundamentals of business analysis. But why I'm doing it my own is that with my experience, so many people do not have this fundamental knowledge of business analysis. And when we start working on a project, they start dragging us back. You understand what
Yeah,
I mean? They start dragging us back. So I will start spending a lot of time to start teaching them afresh the fundamentals of business analysis while we are supposed to be cracking our project. We are going back to fundamentals. We keep on going back and forth because they don't have foundation. And that's why I'm trying to lay a foundation before we can start.
yeah,
Yeah. So very soon, like this particular um, components of business analysis, as you can see, is meant to be, is look at here, is meant to be 2 to 3 weeks. So it's like but I've managed to compress it and finish it today. So meaning that we're at a very high speed. You understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at a very high speed. So, and that is what we're looking at. So we can have time to spend in our projects and execute our projects very well. So that is it. Abdul, I hope you are following.
Yes, I actually followed. But so far, from my own point of view, I felt all these things will be actually better understand very well when it comes to the practical aspect, where
Yeah,
you get to be
that's
applying,
what we're going to do very soon. The
yeah,
practical
all
is
these
coming very soon
details
because
too.
like now if I have started the practical,
Yes, you won't get to understand it. Yes,
yeah, it will
as far
be
as we
good if
didn't
you
get
are,
to know the theory part of it, there's no way we'll be able
yeah,
to
but
do that.
why I decided if I started the practical, you see, I'll be teaching you the tools and the technique at the same time, which is going to
Okay.
be a bit of it might be too overwhelming when
Well,
you are
yeah.
learning. But now we've learned the techniques. The next thing is to learn the tools. And after learning the tools, then we can see how we are going to use that tools to carry out the techniques. And
Yeah.
once you know how to do that, you are a business analyst. So that is it for tonight. I will upload the content in our course portal so that you can go there and have some time. By next week, um, we're going to look at the tools and the soft skills. Why is it important we know the tools and the soft skills as well? Because during interview, they are going to ask you these questions. They need to understand how you understand the soft skills and the tools and the techniques and the approach. These are the things they are going to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for joining this night and see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thank you very much. See you next week, Abdul. Have a good
All right.
night.
Bye. Okay. And you too. Bye.